This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. My guest today, the awesome, the amazing, the scaled genius herself, Jane Sagalovich. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, David. Love that intro.
I love your company name. I love scaled genius. I mean, we assume that we have some genius to begin with before we can scale it. And your expertise is really in helping folks build an online course and build an online business around that course.
That's exactly right.
How did you come to that expertise? Give us a couple of stops along the professional journey that brought you to what you're doing today. Then we'll talk about all the awesome wisdom you have to share about that.
That sounds good. So it was actually a pretty long and winding road. I spent my first 18 years of my career in the corporate world working on strategy, finance, investment, all the things that I thought were cool at the time and were. And I got to learn a lot of things along the way, got to really see how the best of the best operate and do things. And at one point, it just wasn't enough. I knew that the contribution I was making, while valuable, wasn't really in the way that I wanted it to be. And I wanted to be closer to the outcomes I'm creating. So at that point, I was creating, value for shareholders. I was creating money. I was creating value, which is amazing. And I'm a huge fan and proponent of creating wealth. And I didn't have any kind of contribution beyond that. So I knew I wanted to take my expertise and put it directly to the people who need it most, which to me are people who have amazing expertise, genius, like we talk about, but may not have the business strategy, process, skills, and experience that will allow them to take their genius and put it into the world in a bigger way. So that was the transition point of escaping the corporate world and starting. At that point, it was a previous company. I started with a business partner of mine. It was more of a typical consulting company. And then our last year together, we started creating an online course. Same thing. How do we take our brilliance, our genius, put it out in a bigger way? And it was just such an amazing process, both for us and clients, where it just made so much sense. And through that process, not only did I learn how to create an online course, which frankly is just process and strategy. There's nothing inherently complex or weird about it. So what I saw was so many people that looked at what we were doing and said, wait a minute, how are you doing this? And so I saw a huge need for it to be done, what I'm going to call the right way.
Well, we're going to call it the right way because it is the right way.
Yep.
It is the right way.
It is the right way.
Let's dig into that because I think a lot of people, and there's so much bad advice, by the way, I think. There's bad advice in my business about building kind of a speaking-driven business for coaches and consultants and trainers who want to monetize their speaking. I know there's a ton of bad advice out there about building a course. Let me give you just a couple examples, then feel free to add to the list. Oh, just take your keynote, record some slides, and that's your online course. Or just take your consulting methodology, record a whole bunch of, random modules, and that becomes your course. If people love the consulting, they'll love the course. They love the training, they'll love the course. They love the keynote, they'll love the course. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. That's not how to do it. Where do you see the most heinous mistakes or assumptions or myths about what it really takes to build an online course the right way?
So the examples you gave are exactly the examples I use too, as far as the most heinous. And here's why. Because when you are doing a speech, when you're doing your typical consulting, and you're having a very different relationship with a client, with a listener, with a watcher, than you do when you're delivering something in an online format. When you take some of that in-person connection, things have to change. So if all you're doing is putting content together and calling it a course, it's not a course, it's free content. Put that stuff on YouTube, add some value to the people, and that's a great place for that stuff to live. The difference between content that lives out there, such as the modules, such as, the stuff you just said, and a good course is a good course solves an actual problem that your clients have. So what is it that your course is going to do for your clients as a result of them taking it? And so the path no longer becomes, here's a bucket of content, here's a hot mess of content for you. It becomes, what is the path that they need to take from where they are today to where they want to go? And that's the path that has to be delivered via a course.
Can I trademark hot mess of content, or do you want to run with that one?
It's all yours.
hotmessofcontent.com. Come on down. Come on down. All right. Well, let's talk about this. I want to also address the other end of the spectrum where people, I'm sure, come to you and they say, Jane, this is so hard. I've never done curriculum design, instructional design. I have to go get a PhD in adult learning styles. I need to hire like a graphic designer. I have to redo my website. None of my infrastructure is ready. This will be a 3-year project to do my course. What do we say to that kind of person who's freaking out in the other direction?
Well, I would say if that was the case, I wouldn't have an online course either because I don't have any of that. And so creating results for people has nothing to do with graphic design or complicated technology. I record all of my videos for my course right here with this camera. And this is just a, kind of a regular add-on web camera. There's nothing special that needs to happen. The software platforms that exist today for hosting your courses are so simple. I always say if I can do it, anyone can do it. I am not a technology person. I am a normal human expert who just happens to know how to harness the technology that exists in a way that works for us. So if you can drag and drop and type things, that's pretty much all you need to do.
Let's talk about where in a given consultant, speaker, coach's career, an online course might make sense. One data point I have is I came to this way too late. I mean, I was running my business for probably 11 or 12 years before the light bulb went off going, oh, I could scale this puppy with an online course. Some people that say, well, Jane, I'm just starting out. I just left the corporate world like you did. I'm a leadership expert. I'm a sales expert. I'm a team building expert. Should I have a course on day one? Or where between day one and year 12 do you recommend, or to what extent does our business have to be developed enough and evolved enough where it makes sense for us to do this and it's profitable for us to do this?
Absolutely. I would say you have to be an expert in your topic. In the example you give, you're just leaving the corporate world, but you are an expert in leadership training. You've held in-house training sessions for years, and that is who your client is going to be. Awesome. You can create a course on day one because that's something you're already an expert in. If your day one expertise is, hey, this is a good example. I'm a good speaker, not speaking for myself here. Example, I am a good speaker. I'm going to teach people how to speak, how to be a good speaker. Those people would need to start with some one-on-one coaching because while they may be good at the thing, they have no idea how to teach it. And so there's a huge difference. And so they need to start practicing teaching one-on-one before they can start teaching how to do that in a scaled way.
Now, let's say that we're that not beginning. We have some expertise. We've done some one-on-one coaching. Maybe we've even done some groups. I want to ask you later about kind of group coaching together with or separate from an online course. I know that's a huge scaling strategy, and it was for me too. Where do I begin? Do I begin with the marketing? Do I begin with asking my clients, hey, would you guys want a course on this? Kind of how do I start splashing around in the pool of, viability? Does this make sense? Do I have an audience for this? Is there a hunger for this topic?
Great question. And so my answer is actually a little bit different than what is popular in the online course world. Everyone talks about validation and pre-selling and all those things, and I think there may be a place for it. However, given our discussion and my focus on people who are already experts, who are good at what they do, they are already solving a problem. So the only thing that the course changes is the delivery model. They're not creating a totally new thing that all of a sudden needs validating. If you today are getting clients in your one-on-one or group work to solve a particular problem, there's no reason a well-designed online course will suddenly lose demand. The demand is still there, and you have proven it through your one-on-one work. Now, if you're creating an online course in a whole new topic that has nothing to do with what you've gotten clients in, that's a little different and also not necessarily a strategy I recommend anyway. So step one is figure out what problem. I'll go just a little deeper into this topic. A lot of one-on-one consultants, coaches don't at the forefront understand what problem they're solving. They're solving a problem. It's just not necessarily at the forefront of their mind. So step one is to understand and get clear on what problem it is they're solving. And it may be just way more nichier and narrower than it is in their general practice. So if you're solving a variety of problems, think of your favorite problem. Think of the one most of your clients today come to you for that would best be an online course and start creating a course to solve that problem.
I want to draw a little bit of a line between two concepts. And I know that I probably use these interchangeably, but I shouldn't. we talk about solving a problem, which I totally believe. I mean, I tell our clients, you're not a professional speaker, not a professional trainer, you're a professional problem solver,
Yes.
right? Because you go around with a hammer, it's like, look, I'm a hammerer. No, you build houses. So the outcome is when I'm done with my hammer, here's your house. So I want to draw the distinction between solving a problem versus and or producing an outcome. Are we doing both? Is it kind of outcome based? By the end of this course, you will have, or you will be able to do. Is it an outcome? Is it solving a problem? Is it both? Or how do we articulate that bridge between solving the problem so that you get an outcome?
That's really interesting. I haven't looked at it in this distinction. So maybe I'll rephrase it of you take your clients from where they are today to where they want to be. Whether that's a problem or an outcome or combination, there's a destination for them.
And I'm guessing that based on what you said a moment ago, the clearer, the narrower, and the more specific, the better.
Yep.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show.
So I'll give you an example of a course one of my clients is currently creating because I love the specificity of it. So in her general practice, she's a relationship therapist. So couples come to see her for a variety of problems. Her course is specifically relationship after baby. So you're about to have your first baby. Everyone tells you what to do with the baby. No one tells you what to do when your partner is not getting up for the 2 a.m. feedings and you start to hate your partner. So problem, I don't want to hate my partner. Outcome, I'm going to have a better relationship with my partner and therefore we're going to be better parents for the baby. And, it can go on and on about the infinite outcomes a course like that can get. Super nichey, way easier to market because instead of saying, hey, do you have a relationship problem? She's saying, if you're about to have a baby and you don't know what you're going to do, as far as your relationship goes, way tighter messaging and way easier for the prospects to understand what the course is about and the value.
That is such a perfect example. And because the problem that our clients would have, and I'm channeling our listeners here, Jane, they're going, but aren't you limiting yourself? Aren't you leaving money on the table? But here's the magic of it. The specificity, how many babies are born around the world today?
A lot.
How many people have that problem? How many people have that outcome? So the specificity of it, by its very nature, is going to attract a whole lot more of the right people, and it's not going to be relevant to the general quote unquote audience of everybody in a relationship.
Exactly.
But millions and millions and millions of babies, I think this person has a pretty big audience.
She's an amazing audience. And here's the thing, if you're transitioning from one-on-one to this group work. So her as a therapist, she was licensed and practicing in person. So her previous practice was geographically limited. With an online course, she's open to the entire world, like you said. And so her pool is that much deeper. And so you can go way nichier when you have a deeper pool too.
Yeah.
And one other point on this is just the first course. You can create 100 courses that solve 100 different problems.
Let's go there next, because I think a lot of people, and they do this with books also, and I think there's kind of a pro and a con to it, and I'd love to tap into your genius, scalegenius.com. I'd love to tap into your genius about this. They create course number 1, and they launch it. And now, like most entrepreneurs, we have entrepreneurial ADD or shiny object syndrome. And maybe that course has been on the market for 2 or 3 months. And they go, okay, Jane, put me in, coach. I'm ready for course number 2. And they haven't marketed. They haven't monetized. They haven't given this first course, the flagship course, they haven't given it the love, the attention, the exposure, the marketing, the platform that it needs. And now we become perpetual course creators and we forget to be course marketers and course sellers. How do you handle that discussion with your clients?
Yeah, so you have to have a successful course before you're creating course number 2. Unless there's a very specific reason why course number 1 may have flopped and you can identify it and change it in the next variations, that's not marketing related. So maybe you did just pick a really horrible topic for some reason. So you're like, okay, well, you know what? I gave it my all in marketing for 4 months. I did my best. People truly didn't come. The feedback I got is nobody needs this. Okay, I'll create another course. I mean, I gave that as an example, but that's not really what happens. What really happens is people don't market it well enough. I ask everybody who comes to me, why do you want to create a course? And quite often the answer I get, and those are people who did not become my clients, is I'm not successful in marketing my current practice. So I'm going to create a course and then people will come to my course. So, their problem is not lack of a course. Their problem is in the marketing of their current business.
And I know you help them there too, because one of the things I saw on your website is one of the ways to work with you is yes, we'll do the design. Yes, we'll work with you on putting your content together and sequencing it and chunking it out and so on. But we also help you with your marketing materials.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about folks that have a great course or a great idea. They're successful in the offline portion of their business. But when it comes to some of the online marketing basics that you and I might even take for granted, they're a deer in the headlights. They're frozen. Oh my God, Jane, this needs a sales letter? Wait a second. I need to have emails that go out for this. And they're just totally locked up when it comes to the marketing. How do we loosen them up and get them rocking and rolling so they're as successful or more so online than they were offline?
I love that question. And the first piece I'm going to give you is actually a little bit distant from your actual question. Is a lot of people who change from their one-on-one or add an online course to their one-on-one work think that marketing all of a sudden has to be something completely and totally different. And it doesn't. So if they currently have a successful practice and they have marketing methods that work for them, that is the first place to start. Don't think that you can't put people in an online course that you meet in a networking event just because it's an online course. So the first thing you do is double, triple down on what is already working for you. There's no reason to switch just for the sake of switching because it's online. So that's phase one. Phase two, like you said, now we are going online because when we talk about scalable, the in-person networking model only takes you so far. Referrals are amazing, networks are amazing, and they will reach a ceiling probably quicker than most course creators want them to. So the next step, like you said, is online marketing. What I see my experience, and I've gone through this too, is people feel like all of a sudden you have to be a totally different person. And the things that I've noticed has worked best in my own marketing and marketing for my clients and other people is how do you take the person that you are, the messaging that you have, and just put it online? So I know for me personally, videos work really well. So I have a YouTube channel, I do Facebook Lives because that's how people get to know me. So it's not any more scary or any different than me coming up to people at a networking event and talking to them. So it's just a different deliverable. And with online marketing, there's thousands of different tactics that you can use. So the key is not to get lost in saying, oh, I need the perfect funnel, then I need to do this, then I need to click funnels, then I need to do all the things that all the gurus are talking about. Pick 3 strategies that resonate with you, that feel closest to the way that is authentic for you, and do those. It doesn't have to be scary.
Let me also dig in because when it comes to marketing, people might be thinking, well, I guess this would work if I'm marketing to B2C, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the moms who want a relationship after baby. But a lot of my work is in the corporate world. A lot of my work is I'm selling to Microsoft, IBM, Bank of America. Is there a corporate play here for my online course?
Oh, huge. I love the corporate play because same thing. One of my clients was traveling every week to deliver training presentations to a corporate team. Huge waste of everyone's time, huge waste of money, headache, just such a poor business model. So what we recreated for him was you come out at first. So you do build that rapport. You start with it. The corporate teams will still want that. The corporate hiring manager will still want that more realistically. And so you come out once, then the rest gets delivered via online modules, and then you come again at the end for a Q&A session. So it's the combination of the in-person and online modules that really works super well with corporate.
And then the corporate folks, are we dripping this out? Do we just unlock the whole course? And I guess the same question would apply to, no matter who your audience is. Do you recommend kind of free access, or is there really a watch module 1, do module 1, submit your homework, then we unlock module 2, then we unlock module 3, or what's the decision-making criteria when people are asking about open versus drip?
So decision-making criteria is always what will get the best result. 90-ish% of the time, drip is better. You will create your course in a way that is a series of steps, like we talked about, that get your clients from where they are today to where they want to go. That is a path that has steps. So you will have created a course that follows a series of steps. If you open the whole thing and they go from step 1 to step 7 to step 4 to step 10, What is that? So they're no longer following a path. Is there a case for that? Sometimes. So for example, I deliver my work via an 8-module course. Most of my clients, their modules come out once a week and they cannot fast forward. Every once in a while, I get clients who are already experts at certain pieces that I'm trying to teach them. And so I will allow them to skip around and just kind of customize the path for their particular journey. But it's very one-off.
Let's talk about your model, because I think your model is really, really important. And I love the subheading on your website, which is "The world does not need another crappy online course." Before we turned on the microphones, we talked about serving, that just shoveling a whole bunch of things into a portal and saying, "Hey, gang, I've got a course." That's not serving your client with those results, with those outcomes, or to solve those problems. I know you've got a specific model that starts out with a baseline assumption around the concept of integrity, that you as the course creator need to have integrity. Talk about that integrity layer, and then let's walk through the model for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So integrity layer has 2 pieces. The integrity layer has the piece of client results. That's piece number 1. Integrity with your own personal goals as piece number 2. So the first thing you want to keep in mind when you're creating a course is, why are you doing it? So we'll go for yourself. What is the reason you're doing it? So, passive income, scalability. I don't want to see clients anymore. Whatever your reason is, you just need to be really clear about what it is so that you can be in integrity with your reasons as you create it and not follow shiny objects as they come along, as they always will. And then integrity for client results. What is the result, the outcome, the problem you want to solve for them? What is that thing that your course will do for them? And then you stay crystal clear on that. And then, as we talked about decision-making criteria in the last question, your decision-making criteria is, 1, does it take you closer to your life goals and vision? 2, does it take your clients closer to that result you want to get for them? So it makes decision-making very simple.
Yeah, I love that. Now, we do a planning phase, a creating phase, a launching phase, which I'm sure people want to go, no, Jane, let's do the launch stuff. The launch stuff is exciting. That's where all the sexy stuff is. I'm launching, I'm making money, I'm opening the shopping cart, I'm having a great time. But that's only step 3. Then we go to serving, and then we go to scaling. Walk us through that real quick.
Absolutely. So I actually just did a post about this the other day. Most guides on how to create online course will stop you at launching. We talk about integrity and scaling, and it's like, if you launch and then that's the end of the process. And as we come back to, question you asked much earlier, you launch and it flops and then you create the next one, you're stuck in the first 3 phases. And so, I'll go back to the beginning as you can see, talking about squirrel brain, I kind of answer the questions in a very nonlinear format. Coming back to planning. What is it that you're creating? Why are you creating it? What is the outcome you're taking your clients to? What are the steps they have to take to get to that outcome? Content creation in the work I do with my clients doesn't start until week 6 out of an 8-week program. The selection of a platform doesn't come until week 4. The first question I so many times get is like, oh, what platform should I use? What's the technology? Like, who cares? It's all good. Figure out what you want to do, and then we'll find you a piece of technology that'll fit that. So it is, what is it you're creating and why? So it's a lot of the stuff that we already talked about is really understanding the outcomes for them and for you. So the second phase is the creating. This is, how do you take the content and fit it into that path? So this is different than taking the videos of your speeches. A lot of people say, I have recordings of my workshops, I have recordings of my speeches, I want to make that into content. And the answer in 99% of the cases is no, because nobody wants to watch you on stage in front of an audience unless they're sitting in the audience. That's just not a good experience. Now,
just between you and me, some of those audience members didn't want to be there either.
They just have to be there. That's an excellent point. Can you use snippets of that? Of course. But what's better is, maybe to transcribe that speech if you really love that speech and you think that fits perfectly into the path, and then re-record it. The time commitment is minimal and the experience for your clients is so much better. So then the other piece of creation is, I know there's a lot of courses that are just a series of videos. Okay, cool. We watch videos. More often than not, we put on videos while we're folding laundry, while we're doing the dishes, while we do something else. So how do you create a course that actually engages your students as they're taking it? So things like interactive videos that will stop and ask you questions are great. Workbooks. I always say that about 60% of the time that they spend in your course should be spent doing something and not watching or reading. So it's not about you delivering it. It's about them doing something during the course. So how do you create a course that actually gets those results? And there's so many things that go into that. Launching, everyone's either favorite or least favorite. People have very strong opinions about that one. And, the thing about launching is, you talk about open cart, and I know that's a very popular method of doing things in the online course world. And if people are not very sure about the size of their audience, they can launch a course with one client, with one student. There's absolutely no reason that a launch has to be this giant thing if it gives you anxiety along the way. If you just want to create a really awesome course and you want to do some marketing and you have a decent sized audience and you're not doing a group program, which a little bit of a different topic, cool. You can have one client on day one and then you'll have another client on day two and you will still grow and scale it. Launch doesn't have to be this big, scary thing that people try to make it out to be. If that's what you want it to be, you can totally make it be that, but there's no right or wrong way for it to look. It has to fit, again, it's that integrity with your own needs. It has to fit your own goals. So then serving, one of my favorite topics. When we introduce technology and take out the personal connection, there has to be a higher level of service that is integral to the process to make sure that they still feel connected, that they still feel like there's a relationship with you. One of the things I really love helping clients create is a really awesome onboarding sequence. So as soon as they buy the course, what happens next, right? A lot of money just left their wallet. How do you keep that excitement up and not get buyer's remorse come in, keep refunds under control and things like that? And then along the way, what are the frameworks for customer support? When something goes wrong, what is it that you do? When they have a question, when they need support, how do you create those boundaries and protocol systems that allow you to serve while still keeping an integrity to your own life? Like one of the boundaries I set is 48-hour turnaround time, meaning you can ask me all the questions you want. I will probably get back to you quicker, but don't get mad if it's been 47 hours and I haven't gotten back to you, because again, my lifestyle is not one where I want to be on my computer, on my phone 24 hours a day, every day. That would be completely out of integrity with my lifestyle. And then scaling, one of my favorite topics, but we mentioned this a little bit. You launched course number 1. Now what? Is it another course to serve the same clients? Is that, let's say your first course got them to the kindergarten level of your topic. So maybe your next course gets you to the elementary school level of your topic. Do you want to serve a completely different segment of your current audience? Do you want to create a membership site for the people who came out of your course who don't need the step-by-step process anymore, but still you want to keep them in your world and have awesome ways to support them beyond that? What is the next step? Because we never want to stop at just one.
That was so fantastic. Thank you for walking through that. I've got just a couple of questions along the way. One is, you just said a lot of money has left their bank account. The onboarding sequence needs to give them a big hug, congratulate them, make them feel good, nip the buyer's remorse in the bud. Do you have any kind of pricing guidelines? Because people use this term online course. Some online courses are $97. Some online courses are $5,000 or more.
And way more, yeah.
And so what's the spectrum and sort of where does our pricing strategy come into this as we're in this building phase working with you?
Great question. So the pricing phase comes in at week 2 of my work. It is when we plan for the framework, because when we get really clear on the value to the client, which we have to do before we start creating the framework, that's where the price comes in. What is the value to them realistically? So let's separate out automated courses from what I call hybrid courses, where there's some sort of element of support from you, the creator. So fully automated course means you get the modules. Maybe there's like weekly office hours. There's kind of some sort of a group, something. There's maybe a group, like a Facebook group, but there's kind of support, but there's not like, David, if this was your course, I can't call you and say, David, I have a question on module number 2. What does this mean?
But it would cost $1 zillion.
Right. Exactly. That's a nice upsell for David. Right. I'm struggling with my marketing message. Can you help? So in an automated course, the answer would be no, unless there's an additional $1 zillion involved. So in those courses, the price I see is typically, and I'm going to exclude the really big names like, Tony Robbins can come out with a course that's going to get a very different price point from you and I coming out with a course, regardless of the value that he may or may not offer. So taking the name, price bump out of it, I would say most of those courses are somewhere under $2,000. I typically say nothing under $350 for my clients. The really cheaper ones, if you think of the stuff out on Udemy, they're super small, tailored. I would call it a mini course on those cheaper ones. So if you're actually solving a problem or getting your clients towards an outcome, $350 is really the lowest. So $350 to $1,500 fully automated. Now, hybrid online course is really where the magic happens. It's where the magic happens for your clients, and it's where the magic happens for you and for your profitability and for your bank account, really, because now you're able to offer them you at a much scalable and leveraged format. So this may be small groups. This is a way to take your group coaching into an online format where you're still providing group support, just in a much more leveraged time. This may be truly one-on-one. So my work is, in addition to the 8 modules, it is one-on-one. It is weekly calls with me personally, where we go through their sales message, through their content, through every single thing, and get super, super custom and tailored. Once it becomes a hybrid course, the value increases dramatically to the client, because following a step-by-step process without extra support doesn't always work. I've bought so many courses that I couldn't do much with, and I consider myself a fairly intelligent person. And, it's not necessarily that simple without the extra help. So the pricing for those, the highest I've seen is $35,000. And I know there's courses I haven't seen that can go above that. So, you really price that more like you would a one-on-one coaching package, because there's
That's
really
the
no
hybrid
detriments.
course plus attention from the guru.
Exactly.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. I know we just kind of mentioned this in passing, and I actually did this because, again, I was a slow kid on the bus and I was very slow to pick up an online course. I did a lot of group coaching with no course. I just had a live-led group. There was a start date. There was a cohort of people, 15, 20 people that said, yes, David, I want that start date. We went through the 8 weeks or 12 weeks. There was an end date. I patted them all on the head. I waved them goodbye. I said, go make some beautiful money. See you later. Brought the next group in. And I did that 13 times before I created my first online course. Can we do this? And do you even recommend doing this maybe at least once live before you go to record it, so you can sort of have a maiden voyage, kick the tires, stress test and pressure test some concepts, fill in the blanks in case you forgot, oh, everyone's asking about this and I didn't have that in my curriculum plan. I better add that. Would that make the online course better if we do it live led at least once?
Good question. Not necessarily. So one of the things I advocate is continuous improvement. Your course is always changing. You're always making it better. Those things are coming up all the time. So one of the benefits of the hybrid online course is, as you're interacting with people, you're identifying the gaps in your course. It's never, ever, ever going to be perfect the first time. Even your first cohort of 10, 12, 15 people, 15 opinions is cool, but 100 opinions is even better. So you're continually identifying what's not resonating the way you thought it would, where the gaps are. So I recommend quarterly small updates to your course and then annual big updates. The other thing, the courses that we create are not those like one-hit wonders. These are the courses, when you continually upgrade them, these are really kind of forever strategies. There's no, this one course, if you're solving a real problem that exists and is going to exist for an indefinite period of time, there's no reason this course, you can't continually update it and it's always going to be this huge moneymaker for you. You don't have to start over every time.
Yeah, no, that's really, really important. It's a total game changer. It's a total shift in strategy, tactics, implementation, credibility, distribution model. I mean, an online course and an online business has a profound, profound effect. Like you said, people that are traveling like crazy no longer need to travel or no longer need to travel as much. People that were geographically limited, no longer geographically limited. I'm seeing this maybe even flow into a book deal, that once you have hundreds or thousands of people that have taken your online course, you've got a built-in audience. If you ever want to publish a book or do anything else, launch your speaking career, you have a built-in audience of raving fans who love you, follow you, and then anything else you come up with later has a built-in, ready buyer's market.
Exactly. The trifecta you just mentioned, speaking, books, and online courses, are just such a powerful model, because different people are going to resonate with a different model as far as the buyer goes. So, it can all be based on the same bucket of content you delivered in 3 different models. You've really just tripled your audience, and some will overlap. It's even higher there too. So I love those 3 models together. I think are just so brilliant.
Yeah, it's like 1 + 1 + 1 = 10.
Exactly.
Crazy town, how good that is.
That's scaling.
That's scaling, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's why you're the scaled genius. Scaledgenius.com. Okay, I've got a little tactical question, and then
Yeah.
we'll wrap up with the big finish. The technical question, because you mentioned this a couple minutes ago, customer service, make them feel welcome, onboarding process. Oh, Jane, I lost my password. Oh, Jane, you know what? Not my cup of tea. I'd like a refund. Do we have to have a customer service team? Do we have to have a VA? Do we have to start using help desk software? And then if not on day one, when do we know that we should be adding those things so that we don't become the help desk and the customer service and the VA ourselves?
Great question. I'll separate the few pieces you mentioned really quickly. So, password reset, any good platform will be able to do that for you. So, I don't even know when my clients reset their passwords, nor do I want to know. Refunds, I want them to always go through me because I want to always know what is the reason you want a refund. Now, I have a full refund policy, meaning at any point in the course, if you are not happy, I will give you your money back. No one has taken me up on that. I think part of that is just we're continually talking. So if anything, it's like, how do you catch that stuff as it comes up instead of when it's later? Automated courses would have that problem much more. That's really where it comes in. And you, as the creator, as the business owner, you want to know why people are asking for refunds. That is definitely not something that you want to outsource to anybody. All those other miscellaneous things, a VA would be amazing. It's just, how do you add, subtract, do things in the platform that you need them to do? There's really, honestly, and just even as I'm thinking through this, not much comes up for me. The platforms are so good that the questions I get really have more to do with content and with support from me. So they have a link to my Calendly. So, they know they get one call with me a week. All of a sudden it pops up on my calendar. Cool. If you create those automated processes, that's really where the benefits are much more than a team, I think, in this particular situation.
And it sounds, Jane, like most of your clients, you're probably going to guide them towards the hybrid model as opposed to the course only model, or is there a place for both depending on who we're talking about?
80% of my clients are hybrid. And, those are the people that resonate with me too. Those are the people that say, I want Jane's wisdom and support every week in my life. I want her to hold me accountable. I want her to be able to help me create a custom thing. Honestly, I think my automated course is good. It is 5 times the price of most other automated online courses. I think it's worth it and awesome. But when people are comparing automated versus automated, it's much harder value proposition for them to pay that much for.
Similarly, if I were to sign up with you as a client, you would probably guide me towards the hybrid model also, because that's where the maximum value is for my clients.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. That's where you're going to be able to create the best course.
Tremendous. So valuable. Thank you. 2 final questions. The final question is going to be, how do people get connected and stay connected to your brilliance? But before we get to that, the second to last question is, if folks were to take one central idea from our conversation today about building online courses and building an online business, what would you hope that central concept would be?
I love that question. Okay, so I would say the central concept would be create something that's sustainable. So create something that is awesome, that you're so proud of, that you can't wait to shout from the rooftops, that, one's going to make your marketing way easier when you're so excited about it. And 2, it's going to create that sustainability that you don't put all this, everyone says like, oh, this takes so much effort. Well, there's some time and effort involved, but you're creating a forever asset out of it. So when you look at it as creating something you're really proud of, that's going to be sustainable for many, many, many years, that's really the approach that's going to create the highly profitable online course business model for you versus a, $10,000 launch that you're not excited about and never see again.
Really smart advice. Now, how do people get connected and stay connected? Where can we send them? The website I've mentioned a couple of times, but maybe you've got some more goodies up your sleeve, scaledgenius.com. We're going to tie all this up in the show notes for you as you're listening. And when you go to thespeakingshow.com, under this episode are all of Jane's links, social media, all kinds of goodies. Where can we send people?
So other than my website, scalegenius.com, I have a really awesome Facebook group called The Genius Tribe. And you can actually just go to thegeniustribe.com and it'll take you there. I currently have an awesome ebook out there, 7 Rules of a Successful Online Course. And we can get the link over through the show notes too. It's funny because I always talk about that there are no rules. That's one of the methodologies that I do. But people always want rules. So I picked out 7 that are actual rules and everything else is fully customizable. So I love that ebook and people get really great results from following the rules in there.
Excellent. So all of those links, all of those goodies, all of those resources right under this episode. Go there now. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. If you're in your car, you may want to pull over. But other than that, do not hesitate. Grab all of Jane's fantastic resources. Thank you for such a fantastic conversation today. This was super, super helpful.
Thank you, David. You're a wonderful interviewer. This was really fun.
Thank you. We'll see you again. We got to bring you back. I think there's more online course, online business mojo hiding in here. I think we've just scratched the surface today.
There is a lot more. We could talk all year.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.